Good morning, everyone. It's Alex back here with the Sunday morning update here. As we were talking about earlier, Arctic blast, snow, severe weather, wild changes, insane changes are on the way. And that we talked about last video. We're going to be updating way more frequently because of this. Models have only been getting more consistent from this point forward. We are talking about a major storm system early December, and that is very likely at this point. Whether it's severe weather, snow, or damaging winds, snow is a little less likely now. But I've been seeing some crazy things, and we're going to be talking about it all in this video here. And we're going to get a little bit into a long range and what I'm predicting, what I'm thinking, and yeah, let's get into things because we have a lot to cover. So, starting off with the GFS here. Basically, we're just going to be seeing a little bit of a disturbance come by for Tuesday, Wednesday. Not too much. Probably just a steady rain, half an inch, maybe even 3/4 of an inch. Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, it's pretty decent. It's good for our drought. And then we're going to have to watch Wednesday night into Thursday. We were talking about the potential for some stronger storms. It is possible because you do have a wrapped up low near Lake Michigan. I mean, that's a 980. Wow. Yeah, so that's some pretty strong winds on the backside. So, even though this cold front is showing up very lightly on the GFS here, I wouldn't be shocked if we could see some rumbles of thunder from that because of how, dynamic this cold front could be. That could be a damaging wind signal as well. If you take a look at the temp anomaly, you can see that. It's not as drastic, but, you can definitely tell that it could be something going into Wednesday and Thursday. We're going to watch that very closely. Now, Thursday and Friday, we have upticked the winds a bit. So we might be seeing gusts up to 40 to 45 miles per hour on Friday. Yes, because of that wrapped up low that is causing all these problems. And Thursday potentially as well. And Friday continues to crank that wind machine. Maybe even some lake effect snow and snow squalls. We're going to watch that also for next week. That's already 2 things to track. But trust me, those are going to be nothing to what we're going to be seeing early December. And I'm going to tell you right now, get ready for an absolute insane period. One that we haven't seen in several years, that we've been waiting for, we've been praying for last year. This is all coming together. So, without further ado, let's get into the long range, and I'm excited. I am excited to be talking about this, but anyways. So, we have our first storm, Saturday, November 29th. A little bit of a low pressure over there in the south central U.S. That's going to be our first little storm here, and this could produce some severe weather in the south and, pretty sizable storm. Maybe even some snow into New Jersey. We'll see. But the bigger thing I want you to take away from this massive, bizarre, absolute monstrous storm, that right there, where you're seeing snow from Arizona all the way up into Michigan, that is a storm that I am keeping my eye out on. That is a storm. It's going to be causing all of our problems. That is a storm where damaging winds, severe weather, and snow become likely. That is literally the biggest storm signal I have seen in a long time. Like, dude, this is insane, okay? So, you can just tell. Snow, wind, severe weather, it's all coming up. You just have so much moisture coming out from the Gulf of Mexico, from Florida, just surging up the East Coast. That's obviously because when you have that very strong push of Arctic air, what must happen is that there must be some kind of rising air in front of it. That's why I learned in chemistry dynamic equilibrium. Every reaction has to have the same forward and reverse reaction. That's the same thing you can talk about this. Arctic air surging in to the central U.S. and eastern, but at the same time you get these rising air of motion for the eastern U.S. That's why we are talking the potential for 70 plus degrees in New Jersey early December. Why? Is because you have an insanely cold air mass behind it. Now, let's get a little further. Rain spreading up the East Coast. Watch this. We're going to get into Tuesday, December 2nd. That is the main area of low pressure developing. And you notice how much moisture is spinning out of the storm. It's all the way from, let's say, Texas to all the way to the Jersey coast. That is a huge boundary of moisture. It's going to be raining for days. And then now this low pressure really starts to get its act together. Tight-wrapped monster. It has damaging winds, very heavy snow across Iowa, Nebraska, Michigan, just absolute bombing them. And then even some ice with this, but that's a little too far up north. And then you have that southern side, which I'm very worried about. I'm very worried about that southern side. Why? Is because we're starting to see the shear ingredients align, 50 to 60 knot low-level jet, and that is going to translate to 50 to 70 not low-level jet once it gets to the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. That is really concerning. Getting a little further, December 3rd, boom, severe weather. And it could potentially be a severe weather outbreak all across that boundary from, let's say, Illinois all the way down to Louisiana. Let's go a little further. I think severe weather is just going to continue all across this boundary. And why am I saying severe weather? Because you just have such a crazy air mass. And let me just show you the tempo. Oh my god, dude. Like, this is a textbook April 1st, 2023 setup. Why am I saying that? Well, April 1st, think about it. We saw 75 degrees here, and then a major squall line of our lifetimes here, and then it crashed into the 30s. Well, what can I say here? This implies that behind this, we are talking about negative 30 to 40 degree temperatures. Not actual temperatures, but from normal. So maybe you're in like the single digits here for your normal temperatures up in the north. Take minus 40 of that. You could be in the negative 30s there. I mean, this is just wild, bizarre, and just nothing else. I can't say anything about it. Now that white line you're seeing there, and you see that little curvature here, that right there, it means such a strong low pressure, which makes sense because what it starts to do. Okay, think of this. What do hurricanes like to do? They like to really pull the moist air out of the storm and like to draw in the moist air. What does it do? Strengthens the storm. And it releases the cold air, and then it releases the warm air and then starts to pull in the cold air with the moist air. What? This literally looks like it. Because, like, you see that little red boundary in there near Michigan? You see that little weird thing, that little circular thing? That's literally just, like, indicative of a hurricane. But it's not a hurricane. It's a very strong low pressure with damaging winds. And what you're seeing is that it's starting to wrap up and really just pulling in the moisture into the low, really just spitting it out, and the damaging wind threat just becomes crazy over there. And then what you're seeing on the eastern side, you are seeing 28 to as much as 32 degrees above average for the East Coast. And then you're seeing 30 to 40 degrees below average from the central U.S. And this is why I'm saying there is going to be something bizarre forming. Just straight up bizarre. Because you can't get something that does not happen with these temperature gradients. I mean, even if we just get wind, I mean, the wind, dude, it could be bad. I mean, we are talking 60 to 70 plus mile per hour wind gusts if that low-level jet mixes down entirely. This is gonna be bad. Even if you only get the temperature gradient winds, it's gonna be howling out there. So you better start getting ready for this storm because it's gonna be coming sooner than you think. And this is definitely not gonna be a good sign. Progressing it even further, that warmth just spreads all across. And watch what happens. Boom! Arctic air behind this. Arctic air. Entirely Arctic air. So, yeah, this is gonna be... yeah, this is definitely gonna be quite crazy. You want to look at the temperatures? You've got to be kidding me. I mean, you just got to be kidding me. We are seeing 80 degrees in freaking North Carolina. We're seeing 75 in Delaware, 72 in New Jersey, 68 in Philly. Dude, this is not normal. This shouldn't be happening at all. This is like one of these setups where you just have enough moist, warm air where it can literally spawn a severe weather outbreak like April 1st. I'm not sure about that, but you saw how drastic April 1st, 2023 was. First, they were seeing a strong cold front. What was that going to do? Going to push out? Yeah, there were some strong winds behind that, obviously, but they didn't realize the immediate danger we were in until day 1, day 2. They started issuing that 2% threat for the whole entire East Coast. More like Carolinas to New Jersey. They were issuing a tornado threat. And then they started realizing, once they got later into the outlook, there had to be a 5% issue because there was so much shear and tornadic things in there. Day 1, dude, tornadic signatures spiked up to 11 in New Jersey, and that's why they issued a 5 to 10% tornado threat, and that's why there was a tornado outbreak in New Jersey. This is why meteorology is so damn confusing, is because SPC, literally, they didn't issue anything behind that front. And they thought, oh, it's just going to be a strong front with maybe some thunderstorms, maybe a strong storm or two. They were not thinking of a tornado outbreak. So, what I'm trying to say here, nothing is for certain. And the fact that you're seeing this signal right here, it's really, really just concerning. This is not a very good signal. And even though you do have a loss of CAPE in the winter, this is going to have a ton of elevated surface CAPE because of how strong the temperature gradient is. So I gotta warn you about early December because it's gonna get a whole lot more hectic and wild. So we really gotta see, and how that translates down the surface. Look at this. I mean, look at that massive front just draping all across the East Coast. Might not be seeing the red contours. That might start showing up pretty soon. We'll see about that. But you do see the front survives, and then just cold air spills back. If you want to go to the end of the model run, it's not that cold. So, yeah. First, we have to get through this monster. We absolutely have to get through this monster. And then, boom. Look at that cold air. Look at that cold air behind that. So, yeah, it's gonna be wild. Then there's no other words than just saying bizarre and wild. Seriously, this should not be happening. If you want to look at the euro, it's literally the same idea. It is literally the same idea. If you want to look at the euro, actually, it is quite literally the same idea. See that? Look at that. Massive warm sector punching through towards New Jersey into central, not so much north, but you just get the idea. So I think major storm is likely next week. That's like for certain. We know that's going to happen. Now, we have two questions. How cold is it going to get behind that front? And how warm is it going to get ahead of that front? And how far does that warm sector punch its way through New Jersey? That is going to be your key question. Now, if I had to say, damaging winds is going to be very likely. At this point, we are talking about damaging winds. 50, 60, maybe even a 70 mile per hour wind gust. It is absolutely more not just possible, more potentially likely. So we know that there is going to be some very strong winds beyond that front. Now, we need to figure out the warm sector, the cold front strength in general. GFS is already hinting at some crazy winds. I absolutely agree with that. But Euro and GFS, it has it a bit different with that warm sector. The GFS actually has that warm sector getting all the way up into New York. So that's a significant difference. European has that warm sector going slightly more south, but you do see it does have 67 to 70 degree temperatures across New Jersey. So what's the common theme here? Warm, extremely, very above average warm. T-shirt weather could be expected for early December, which is absolutely mind-blowing. Yes, one of the days you literally might get out with short pants and literally shorts, everything shorts. Yep, that's how wild this is gonna be. And then next day, and then you're gonna say, oh, I want to wear some shorts and some t-shirt. No, you're not, because it's just gonna be frigid cold, and it goes all the way down into the 20s. So, I mean, think of it as like, let's say, yeah, I mean, there's really no other way to describe it. It's literally going from, let's say, late spring to literally right into January. That's how extremely bizarre this is. So, also the European, does it show the storm? Absolutely. Actually, it might have some severe weather. And the European actually looks like it might have. So, yeah, this is looking pretty interesting. Canadian's also a pretty good model to look at. What does it show? Well, let's see. Canadian, yep. Yep, it literally shows the warm. You can literally just tell, oh my god, yeah. Yep, it shows that one. Not as much. That's important to note. Not as much. But it does show it enough. That it is a threat. It is absolutely a threat. So, we're going to get into some very active times. Oh, AIFS. We got to take a look at AIFS. Temperature anomaly. Because it showed some crazy stuff early on last week. But honestly, doesn't show it that crazy anymore. Yes, you get into the, it gets pretty warm, but like it's not overly impressive. Now the Euro AIFS actually has a very significant cold behind that. Wow, 19 degrees in New Jersey. So models are still flipping back and forth. Like ridiculously. I don't know like which one is gonna be right, but what I can tell you is that there's a major storm coming for next week. And this will cause damaging winds and even some severe weather. And we're gonna have to see if New Jersey gets in that warm sector. That will determine ultimately if we get thunderstorms or not. Could it be that we don't? Absolutely. But damaging winds is still gonna be a huge issue. Alright, so, you guys want to know about the long term. Okay, so, we're going to zoom out to the whole entire U.S. So, once we get past that animal for the 4th, I think. Yeah, let me just look at the moisture content of this thing. Once we get past the 4th, it should start to quiet down some, but it's going to get pretty cold around the country. Let me just show you the temperature anomalies first. Yeah, it's going to get pretty cold somewhat. And what you're going to start seeing, it's like a step down process of cold. You get a storm, it gets colder. You get another storm, it's going to get colder. Eventually, you're going to have enough storms where it's going to be cold enough for a snowstorm or a coastal storm, nor'easter, bombo, Genesis or whatever. That's how it works. So it's gonna be a little frustrating at first because you're gonna think, oh, Alex is thinking of snow, but oh my god, this storm looks so impressive and 20-degree temperatures and all that. No. Yes, I am saying that, but it's not a pattern where it's snow yet, but we are going to get into that eventually. I think mid-December is when it really starts to crank out, and then late December, especially into January, into early February, it's going to be nuts. But for now, we are in this pattern where it is going to be dynamically insane. Dynamically insane. It is going to be roaring jet stream with roaring winds. It's going to be a massive temperature influx, temperature change, temperature contrast. And it makes sense because actually, I was watching one video today, and they were talking about the Madden-Julian oscillation. It's basically like your patterns of weather, basically. And usually, like they say, 7 and 8 are the definite worst for cold and snow. It makes sense because pattern 7 is not all that cold. It's actually pretty warm. And what happens is that you get that warm influx of air, and it makes sense, which is crazy because it's timed out correctly. And then officially from December 5th, Phase 8 starts. And the crazy thing about it is that when Phase 8 starts, you have that massive monster-like animal trough coming through, which is going to produce the damaging winds and severe weather, and maybe even some thunderstorms, and then you just get right into the cold air. So it's like, it's kind of crazy because you're transitioning from two phases with like the same exact timing in that cold front. So yeah, I mean, this is definitely gonna be probably one for the books. December temperatures in the 70s. That is gonna be something that I will not forget, personally. If it had to be one of my significant events, if I actually see a reading of 70 or above here early December, I'm gonna freak out. I'm actually gonna freak out. Because if you see 70 degrees in December, you know that trouble is headed your way. You just know. You are cooked. So, yeah, that's basically what's all about. Now, mid-December, like I said, step-down process. But by the time we get into late December, I have been looking at temperature anomalies, and it's looking way colder. That lobe of polar Arctic air around the polar vortex starts to split apart and weaken. What that does sends that whole entire lobe of air towards the Great Lakes and Northeast. That's why I'm saying Christmas chances for a white Christmas, actually, it's not all that impossible. Because I think we do have a much better chance of a white Christmas this year. We might have a lot of snow then. It's something like 2020 and 2021. Same exact pattern. You get a storm, December 17th or 19th, 2 to 3 feet of snow. So, again, it's a step-down process, but we are in a pattern where there are going to be massive, major storms, and any one of those storms that take advantage of all these shear ingredients, all these wind ingredients, all of those cold fronts, all of those dynamics, all of those ingredients, it's really going to try to explode and try to become a bomb cyclone. It's really going to try because we are in a very favorable pattern right now. Last year, it was extremely dry and unfavorable, and it was just not favorable at all. But this year, you just got so much going on. You got a very hyper jet stream. You got a lot of moisture to work with. And if all those ingredients come together, for early December, massive severe weather outbreak for the South. And maybe even towards New Jersey. We'll see how that works out. And then later in the time periods, when that cold air tries to press south, that southeastern ridge is a little dominant in the period. But it's going to try to start pushing it down south. And what's going to start happening is you're going to start to get that gradient between the southeastern ridge and the cold air. And what starts to happen is that you're going to start to get a little bit of a storm track that goes from, let's say, Texas all the way up to the East Coast. That's going to be your area storms that are going to try to do it. And they're going to try to form. And as they do, they're going to pick up energy along the way because you have so much working ingredients. Even here in the Mid-Atlantic, we have some very, very favorable dynamics. And any major storm or low pressure tries to form there, it could bomb out. It could literally be in a favorable position nor'easter track, Miller A-type. It could literally be that. We could see thunderstorm. We could see insane snowfall rates. I'm very excited this winter because this is a really good pattern. Really good pattern. But for now, I think early December, late December, and mid-December, especially those two periods, early and mid-December, for now, the most snow that you can get is from clippers. I don't think it's going to be massive nor'easters. I don't think it's going to be, late December, I think there's going to be a track where there could be a massive coastal storm. But for now, early, mid-December, you can start seeing snowfall events 1 to 2 inches, 2 to 4, 3 to 6, 4 to 8, etc., etc. And they're small, but they can definitely add up quickly, which makes sense. So definitely start watching that out. Northeast and Mid-Atlantic especially. You're going to have to start watching this out. But then late December into January, we're definitely going to start to get that southeastern ridge building. More of that Arctic air starting to flex. We start to see a bit of a pattern change into January. But that won't last long. Maybe 2 to 3 day warm up, straight back into cold Arctic air. So, and then that's going to really start to produce some nor'easters and potentially some bomb cyclones this year that could produce feet of snowfall across the coast of New England. So, we're just going to have to see. I think this winter is going to be one for the books. It's going to be very active. And just looking towards the 2026 severe weather season is going to be a whole lot different because 2025, you just didn't have the ingredients lining up at all. Then nothing lined up. 2026, you got everything lined up. So I'm very excited for 2026. It's going to be, you know what they say, 2025 is a quiet year. 2026, whole different animal, whole different story. So we were definitely in the quiet period for a few years, but now we're starting to get in that period for a few years where it's going to be a very snowy, potentially winter, where it's not just going to be, maybe a couple inches, maybe at most like a foot. We're going to start getting into those patterns where you're talking about those memorable childhood snowstorms. You're going to start getting into those memorable feet of snow winters, memorable just winter moments, basically. So, yeah, if you really like snow, please just try to stay tuned to every weather forecast, including me. I'm not saying you have to trust me or anything, but, if you like snow, I have some good news for you. This is definitely going to be a good season for you. It's definitely going to be a good season for you. Storm track is very favorable. Everything that I talked about, it is lining up, and I think snow lovers will absolutely love this season. So anyways, I will see you guys in the next few days, and we will talk about how this cold front will evolve for early December. Severe weather, 70-degree temperatures, damaging winds. We'll get a little bit more specific into that. Right now, it's just general, but we're starting to notice trends that this is becoming a massive, major type storm. So, I will see you guys in the next video, and have a great rest of your Sunday.